All right, let's see. Look at that. And it's working. Let me move. And there we go. Welcome back to Arcade. I am Super Tommy, and in this video, we're going to look at creating a ship exhaust effect with particles. So we're gonna do a simple one. So we have a ship here that moves. We're gonna put a simple one at the end, at the bottom of the ship here, this exhaust section. And then we'll show you how to make it work when the ship actually rotates around. So right now, this ship only goes up, down, left, right, but we're gonna make those changes in this video. So we're actually using the new Arcade Snowpack template. You can find it here at github.com/arcade. Look for the Phaser 3-Snowpack-template. So Snowpack is like Parcel. A lot of the videos here we've used Parcel, but Snowpack is even faster than Parcel when it reloads when you make changes and it reloads. So you can check out Snowpack at snowpack.dev. And if you want to try out the Phaser 3 Snowpack template, go to github.com/arcade. So the assets we're going to use are from Kenny. This is from Kenny's Space Shooter asset pack. And the exhaust we're going to use is actually from Kenny as well. It's his particle pack. If you go, smoke particles. I think we're using these white ones over here. So you can just go to kenny.nl, look for the smoke particles to get the white puff 00 that we're going to be using in this video. So let's start. So let's add a particle. So here we just have a simple Phaser 3 scene, very simple here. We've just set it up to load the two images here from Kenny's asset packs. We're creating the cursor keys to give us the arrow keys and space, just easy access to that. And in update, we're just simply moving the ship up, down, and left, right. So let's make some particles to start. So this .add.particles is how you create a particle emitter manager. And so we're going to give it a texture. So we're going to use smoke. So this key here corresponds to this key that we loaded here in the preload method. And so let's do this, const particles. So now with an emitter manager, you need to make emitters from it. So we do particles.create emitter, and then we give it a config. So now there's many options here, and if we go to phaser.io, let's expand this a little bit. Go to learn, and then in the API docs, you can do scene.add, and then particles. Then let's look at what the particle emitter manager does for create emitter. Now this is the config. So this is the phaser.types.gameObjects.particles.particle emitter config, and these are all the various options that you can pass into it. So we're going to use a bunch of these, and by and large, when you're designing particles, playing with these numbers is the best way to go. So I have a pre-made, but I'll go over each of these. Let's do that. So first, let's do quantity. So now for our exhaust effect, we don't really want that many to come out at once. So we're going to do 10. So I think quantity, let's go to quantity here. I think it'll give you it tells you nothing about what it means, but this is the number of particles that it will emit. So we do quantity. Now let's do speed. Let's do speed y. Right? So speed y is going to take an object here. Now, if you look here in speed y, you'll see it takes this emitter op on emit type. But IntelliSense is going to help you in VS Code by telling you the options that you can use. So n, max, min, start. So we're going to use min, and we're going to set that to 20. We're going to use max. We're going to set that to 50. And then we're going to do the same thing for speed x. Just copy that. Okay, now let's actually see if we have anything. So for a quick follow, we're going to make it follow the ship. So using follow means that it'll follow the ship, but it's probably going to be in the center of the ship. So we're going to give it a follow offset. And that's going to have an x and a y. So for simplicity here, we're going to do this dot ship dot height. Let's go with half. All right, so we should at least see something now. We do see something, and it's huge. So let's scale. So scale is an option. So scale also has that. So we want scale as, so start. So this is a pretty big texture. You can shrink this on your computer too, but we're just going to scale it here to this small value. N, this is the n value of the scale for your particle. And we're going to want it very small. So let's put a, all right, so you see there's a, look at that. There's something going on. It doesn't look very good. We got something happening. All right, so let's add some more values here. So let's do acceleration y. So that's, we want to go down. So let's do that. Lifespan. So lifespan is basically how long each particle is going to live for after it's been emitted. So minimum, this is going to be in milliseconds. So minimum 1/10 of a second, and then maximum 3/10 of a second. All right, so see, very fast. Okay. Then, so we got scale, acceleration, lifespan. Let's go alpha. And we're going to do a similar thing to scale. So start alpha, let's just say we started at half alpha, and then when it ends, we're going to go to 0. We can also put ease here, you see. Now this ease, this says it's only a string. So where we would normally be able to do phasor dot math that easing, which gives it a function, we're actually going to just have to do the string versions. So we're going to just do sign. Maybe sign.ease in. Let's try that. Okay, so there's alpha. Let's see what this looks like. All right, that's looking better. You can see it looks a little bit better. Let's see. So now there's other things. So scale alpha, we also have, we can have it rotate. And let's see, rotate min. So the minimum rotation of each particle, this is like randomly picked between min and max here. Let's go with 180, minus 180 to 180. And then let's pick angle here. And angle, we're going to do min 30 and max 110. This is the angle that it starts with versus rotation, where it'll rotate 2 these degrees. Like you can see that it's moving around, that there is a rotation happening. Okay, now let's add a blend mode. So let's make it a little bit nicer. Blend mode. We're going to do add. And then let's do frequency. Frequency is how often particles are emitted. I think this is a millisecond, so I think. Could be wrong there. I don't think the doc actually tell you, but it looks a little bit nicer. Let's see, frequency. It's a number. Here we go. So here you can find out what frequency means. Let's see. Particle flow cycle value 0 means there is 1 particle flow cycle for each logic update. Okay. The time between particle flow cycles in milliseconds. So that's roughly, you can just see, it's easier to understand just by doing it. So let's just say we make this 1500, right? So it's very slow. Smaller, it will be faster. So there we go. So that's ship, that's that. So now let's actually put the ship in front of it. Or on top, there we go, that's better. Okay. That's not bad, that's not bad. Okay, lifespan, angle, blend mode, frequency. Let's give it a tint. Last thing, so that we have a blue ship. Let's give it a blue tint. And we have a color preset already, but you can just go to, for example, you can go look up color picker, and then just pick your color and then get the hex value. We have it here. All right. It's a nice blue. It's not bad. So now you see that it's sort of like drifting to the right here. If I did this. Speed X. Yes, that should be the same. There we go. We don't need this for now. All right. So there's your ship. Right, it's moving. You got this particle. It's not a bad one. You can adjust this acceleration y, for example. Let's make this 10 times less. And it's just a little thing here. 10 times more. You can also adjust this speed x. Min, let's actually do this. I think that's why it's pulling. Yep, there we go. There we go. See, now it's nice and centered. Looks like it's pretty good. Okay, so there you have it. But now what happens if we rotate the ship? So if we rotate the ship, this is not going to quite be right. So let's go here, this dot ship dot angle. And let's say we rotate this ship 45 degrees. This thing is always going to be at the bottom. So we actually want our particle exhaust here to always be at the back of the ship. So first thing we're going to do is actually use a different asset that's rotated 90 degrees. So let's just get rid of this. So this is at rotation 0 right now. So this ship is not rotated at all, but it's facing up, which in your mind you may think that is zero rotation, 0 angle. But in Phaser, it's a right-hand rotation system. So actually, if it's facing to the right, that should be 0. Just makes all the math and the thinking easier. So what we actually have, we have a pre-rotated, which is this guy. So we just rotated 90 degrees to the right. So that 0 is it facing the right. So let's go back here, and we're just going to use our rotated version. You can just rotate your sprite and then use it. Okay, good. So now this thing is in the wrong spot, but what we're going to do is use vectors to get the right position that is behind the ship. So let's just make a vector here. We'll call it direction, not new. Const direction, new phaser.math.vector2. And let's just do that. And then direction dot, we use set to polar, so that's gonna give it the rotation of the sprite. So we do this dot ship dot rotation in radians with radius 1 or length 1. And what this is gonna do is give us the vector representation of the rotation of the ship. So it gives us its facing value. So you see here, this is gonna be 1, 0. So effectively doing set to polar on ship rotation 0 gives us a vector of 1, 0. That means x, 1, y, 0, so it's facing to the right. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get the direction x as 2 different variables here, direction y. Now, because we're going to be, the direction is not always facing up, we're going to have to modify some of these values here, so that it makes sense in all cases that the ship is facing. So what we want is to multiply dx on the x values here, because that is direction x. Oh, that's y. So let's just do y. And we want x. So we'll just do this and then c. Okay, so nothing has changed yet. Now acceleration is dy, okay, right? It's because y is 0, so 1,000 times 0 is going to be 0. And then we will actually want acceleration x as well, because we're not always facing up. So x, so now you should see it's going to go this way, or go that way. Yeah, so we're going to actually invert it. So this is the facing direction, so it's facing this way, but we actually want the inverted direction. So we're just going to invert it. There we go. Right. So now it's facing the right way. And now this offset, this follow offset here, let's make this smaller that we don't look at the phaser docs. So this follow offset is also going to have to be changed depending on where the ship is rotated. So we're going to do that like this. Let's just call this OXOY for offset X. That's going to be DX. We're going to do, let's do this dot ship dot width, and we're going to do both offset X, offset Y based on the basically roughly half width. You can adjust those values depending on, I guess we can just use, let's see, we'll just use half. All right, I think that's too close. But you can adjust these values depending on what your sprite actually is. This may work for you, but this sprite is not the same width and height. And we really only care about width since that's how we're calculating this distance here, right? From the middle of the ship to its behind area, to its exhaust pipe area. Okay, so X, Y, so that looks good, right? You see this offset is good. It's facing the right direction. So now just test this a bit with changing the angle here. Let's go to 45 degrees. That looks right. Let's go to minus 45 degrees. And that looks good. 180 degrees. And that looks good. All right, so that looks like it's pretty good. It's rotated the particle along with the ship so that it's going to be in the right spot as the ship rotates. So let's make some changes to our movement here so that instead of moving the ship, we're going to move the angle so that left and right is going to rotate it. So like asteroids, let's see, right? There we go, like asteroids. And then when we press up, that'll move. And so therefore, this is going to be not quite right. X, let's just do X and then Y. And what we're actually going to want here is this. So just for simplicity, I'm going to take this to get the direction right here. After any changes in angle, then we want the direction, and we also want dx dy. So let's do that. But we don't want it inverted yet. And just right here, we're going to do speed times direction and speed times direction, and then we don't need this. Let's just comment. Oops. Comment. Okay. All right, that's still, but the ship is now moving, right? Okay. Yep. So we got asteroids-like movement here, where the left and right arrow keys rotate the ship, and then the up key moves it forward based on where it's facing. All right, so now we need to actually rotate our particles here, the exhaust particles, correctly. So let's just get this offset. So the change is offset as it rotates. So let's do that. We're going to just do this math again here. We're going to invert it here. Let's actually do it down here. So let's see. We need to reference the emitter that's created here, this particle emitter. So let's come up here, exhaust emitter, and let's give it a type. So these are JS docs in modern JavaScript here. Let's just copy and paste what it's supposed to be. For setting a class field property, so do that. So you don't really have to do this. It'll work fine even if you don't do this. But it's always nice to have your properties listed in the class fields area. So when someone else is reading or you reading it later, you know exactly what is available as a property on this class. So this dot exhaust emitter. Okay, there. Good. So now down here, we want that if there is an exhaust emitter, I mean, there really usually is, but you never know. Sometimes maybe you don't set it in this update, or something gets destroyed and it becomes null. Let's see. Okay, so now Yes, we actually don't need to do that until this is true. So let's move that in there. And then this dot exhaust emitter. So let's first do the speed. So speed x, we're just going to basically drop this in here again. So speed x, just copy this. Right. So we're going to want this to be minus dx. Okay. Let's make that easier. Const. Let's call this ddx. Const ddy. I mean, there may be a better name for this, but it's kind of funny. Sometimes you see in various game code this does happen. We just make variables, especially when it comes to physics and stuff like that, where there's little nitpicky variables, and you don't really know what you're supposed to name the next one. That's why you see all these math formulas for physics that are used A, B, C, D. You're like, what does this mean? Who knows? We're just going to do it this way. You can pick a better variable name if you like. Okay, so we're going to change speed y like we speed x like we did there, and speed y. Let's just copy that, and that's going to go dd. So that's x and y. And then we want the acceleration to also change as we're rotating around, so that it's always the acceleration of the exhaust is the opposite that it's facing. This dot exhaust emitter dot set acceleration x dot property value. So this is the field you want to update, which is going to be 1000 times ddx. And then this dot exhaust emitter dot acceleration dot y property value 1000 ddy. And then last thing is the follow offset. So this dot exhaust emitter dot follow offset dot x is going to be this ox in here, this exhaust follow offset, this the oy. All right, let's see. Look at that. And it's working. Let me move. And there we go. So now we have this particle exhaust, ship exhaust effect behind the ship as it moves around. And you can always adjust these values to get a different, maybe like less long. I think we can do less long if we just do that. Let's make it half. This should make it less long, although it doesn't really feel like it's too bit less long. How about 100? Maybe there's, okay, how about 0? Surely 0 would make it less long. To start, it would be less long. You see, there is an effect on it, just not when it's moving. So maybe there's a different number. Let's bring this back. Maybe there's a different number. Playing with this is really sort of key here. I think there is a physics editor program that you can find. It may be paid software, but I have not actually looked into it. But it is very useful for creating particle effects, since manually doing this with numbers is kind of annoying, and it's hard to visualize what's going on. But nonetheless, this could actually be speed. I'm going to change speed. Let's say speed max min is basically the same. That still goes pretty far. Oh, there's definitely some way to do it. You may have to experiment and see. But nonetheless, that's how you can get your particle effect to stay in the right place as your ship rotates around, and then have it look like a nice little exhaust particle, just like that. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, do hit like and subscribe for more videos on game development tips in Phaser 3.